What's going on, guys? I've got something to show you today that I think you're really gonna like. During my prep, started making these pancakes, I guess, for lack of a better word. It's actually just kind of like one giant pancake. I would have it as part of like a carb up, because I would use like a pancake / waffle mix powder to get the carbs, and I would mix it with eggs. And I've since kind of modified it, and basically what I do is I take 6 eggs, 6 whole eggs, I like whole eggs, 6 whole eggs, a half a cup of pancake mix. Now I use gluten-free pancake mix. Why? Not because I'm gluten intolerant or anything like that, but because I really kind of limit my consumption of wheat because I just don't feel great when I consume it. So I make it a point to get my carbs more from like rice, potatoes, sometimes oats, a 1/4 cup of coconut almond milk, half a teaspoon of cinnamon, mix it up in the pan. One giant pancake, let it cook for a little bit with the lid on, flip the whole thing at once, let it finish cooking. That's it. And that gives me just over 40 grams of protein. It's only like maybe 25-30 grams of carbs. And for the fat, because all the whole eggs, it's about 30 grams of fat. So depending on what macros you're trying to hit, it's very easy to adjust, because you could change the ratio of whole eggs versus egg whites. You could add more pancake mix if you want. But the thing I like most about it is now what I do is I make a big batch of it, and I'm able to basically mass produce my breakfasts like I like to do with everything else, because it's just better for time and whatnot. Just way more efficient. So rather than waking up every morning and having to cook breakfast, it's great because it's already ready to go. So I'm gonna show you guys how I do it. It's so easy. You could also, if you use protein powders, you could add a scoop of whey to it. So easy to do. Actually, I've got a couple of containers of animal whey here. Just figured you guys might be interested in it. Some of the flavors are really excellent, which would totally go with the pancakes. Flavors like mocha cappuccino, salted caramel, there's brownie batter. It's just an easy way to add an extra 25 grams of protein to the mix with no fat. So come in close, I'm gonna show you how it's done. The mixer, actually my father found it at the dump. Somebody was throwing it out, and he's like, you're not really throwing that out, are you? And they're like, yep. All right, so first thing I do is I crack a dozen eggs and put it in the mixer. Why a dozen? Because I have 2 pans, as you can see, on the stove. I'm able to do 2 of them at a time, so I make enough, obviously, to make 2. So I do, rather than 6 eggs, I do a dozen, right? Because it's 6 per pancake. Now, like I said, if you're someone who's worried about the fat, you could always use a greater ratio of egg whites. You could also make up for that protein with a powder. So now that the eggs are in here, I add this is a 1/4 teaspoon. Actually do 2 of those, it's a 1/4 teaspoon per pancake. So now that the eggs and the cinnamon are in there, I'm just gonna whisk it up. Now, if you were going to use like a whey protein powder, I would add it at this point and whisk it together with the eggs. I use 2 different pancake mixes, both of which are gluten-free. Like I said, not because I have celiacs or don't tolerate gluten well, but because I just feel better getting my carbs from, other gluten-free sources. Now, the King Arthur one is made from brown rice and potato starch. This one is made predominantly from oats. So I've noticed that combining the 2, I get a better texture out of it than if I were to use either one of them by themselves. So because we're making 2 pancakes here at a time, I do half a cup of each. This one actually has more fiber, which is a good thing. And then I add also a 1/4 cup of coconut almond milk. It just improves the texture and the taste. And it works out good because A, it tastes really great, and B, if you're somebody who, like myself, doesn't tolerate milk really well, again, it's lactose free, it's non-dairy. So I just go ahead and I whisk that up. So I've got 2 pans that have been heating on medium heat. All I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hit them each with some non-stick spray. I'm gonna put half the batter in one, half the batter in the other, put the lids on, let it cook for a while until the bottom is crisp, flip it, another minute or so, and they're done. Now because it's a volume, we're going by volume and we're just doing half, I put 2 ladles of each, 2 ladles in each pan. And now I was able to get by eye, I could tell, okay, half and then half again. And that'll be exactly split between the 2 pans. So while that batch is cooking, I'm gonna make the mix for the next one. Now, like I said, one of the greatest things about this is the fact that you can mass produce it. And in, you know, half an hour, 45 minutes, knock out your breakfast for, you know, 5-6 days. I mean, this keeps really, really well in the fridge. The next morning when I heat it up, I top it with brown rice syrup. Most of you guys are probably saying, what the hell is brown rice syrup? Well, it's syrup derived from brown rice, which is like mildly sweet in a nice way. It's kind of buttery tasting. The reason I use it, the greatest thing about it, is the fact that it contains no fructose. What good is that? Well, first off, if you're someone who has some type of fructose intolerance, then it will work well for you. But for most of us as bodybuilders, what it means is a greater likelihood of the carbohydrates that we're ingesting coming from this being stored as muscle glycogen than being stored as fat. Because if you're gonna use honey or maple syrup, which I really enjoy and I use sometimes, they contain a considerable amount of fructose. And unless we're going to go do an activity where we're gonna burn those carbs off, they're more than likely just gonna be stored as fat. Wow. The hard part is flipping it. You need 2 spatulas. Let's see if this one's ready yet. I'm going in. So I just get 2 spatulas under it. Waha! This one should be ready too. All right. Haha. This is done. What I do is I get a cooling rack because I don't want to just put it on a plate or on a, you know, like on a solid surface because moisture forms between it. So I just take it, come over, put it on the cooling rack. Same thing. Boom. And that's 2 breakfasts right there. So now I've got the next batch already ready to go. Really anything that can add efficiency to your life just makes attaining your goal that much more feasible. Because for so many people, the reason they fall off a diet isn't necessarily because of a lack of willpower. It's just because they say, oh man, it's such a, you know, prepping all my food and I found myself here and I didn't have food available and I was late for work and I ran out of time. I didn't have time to cook breakfast, you know, shit like that, which I'm not discounting, you know what I mean? Life happens. It's not easy. I get it. So anything you can do thinking ahead to make your life easier, make your meal prep more efficient, it's just going to make attaining your goals just that much more realistic. So it's the way to go. So just to show you guys how I store it, all I do is I take a pizza cutter. You could use a knife, obviously, as well. I just cut it into quarters. And then boom, just like that. How fast was that? How easy? Got 4 breakfasts made. I mean, I could have done 6 or 7. It would have been no more time, you know, really. If you're gonna clean a bowl and a whisk and all that stuff, you might as well get as much out of it as you can rather than have to do it every morning and clean it every morning. Do it once, clean everything once, and be done with it. So I hope you like it. I hope you gave it some ideas. I really hope you try it. So I don't think you'll be disappointed. That's all I've got.